All right, let's dive in. Today, we're tackling a topic that affects millions of women, but has been surrounded by, well, just a ton of confusion for years: menopause. But here's the thing: a recent, really game changing development is completely rewriting the script on menopause care, and we're going to break down exactly what it means for you. This quote just gets right to the heart of it, doesn't it? For far too long, menopause was met with a sort of medical shrug. If you've ever had your symptoms dismissed or felt like your concerns were being minimized, listen, you were not alone. But that era of frustration is finally starting to change. For the better part of 2 decades, really, just one word dominated the entire conversation around menopause: fear. And this fear, it came from some studies back in the early 2000s that linked hormone therapy to an increased risk of breast cancer and heart disease. It created this massive chilling effect that scared both doctors and patients away from a treatment that could be and is life-changing. Okay, this is the critical distinction we have to make. The problem was never the hormones themselves, but the completely one-size-fits-all approach. I mean, imagine giving everyone the exact same pair of shoes, regardless of their size. It just wouldn't work, right? The early studies used outdated formulas, and they didn't tailor the treatment to the individual. It was a blunt instrument. And honestly, those broad, scary warnings, they reflected that. But now, we are at a major turning point, and it's coming from the very top. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, has officially acknowledged that, hey, the science has evolved and those old rules just don't apply anymore. This is the moment the entire narrative shifts. So this is the big headline. The FDA is actually removing its most severe caution label. It's called the black box warning from a lot of these therapies. You got to think of a black box warning as like the skull and crossbones on a medication label. So to see it being removed, that is a massive statement that the whole risk-benefit calculation has fundamentally changed. And that's the question on everyone's mind, right? If these warnings have been there for 20 years, why the sudden change? While the answer isn't some single new discovery, it's actually 2 decades of better science and a much more nuanced understanding of how hormones really work in our bodies. Now, what's so interesting here is how this really breaks down the flaws in that old thinking. The original warnings, they were based on data that's now basically obsolete. Modern medicine uses totally different drugs, different doses, much better delivery systems like patches or gels, and most importantly, it's given to the right patients, usually women who are under 60 or within 10 years of menopause start. And this just perfectly illustrates the shift. We are moving away from a culture of fear that was driven by this blanket warning for literally everyone, and we're moving toward a new standard of personalized care. It's no longer about, is hormone therapy bad? The question now is hormone therapy right for you? And that assessment, it's made between you and a provider who really knows what they're doing. So this FDA update is so incredibly important because it opens the door to a much bigger conversation. See, modern menopause care isn't just about replacing some hormones and sending you on your way. It's about seeing this transition for what it truly is, a whole system event. Let's just let that sink in for a second. Menopause impacts your brain, your metabolism, your heart, your bones, and your sexual function. It is a full-on cascade of changes. And when you look at it that way, you start to realize that a single prescription could never, ever be the complete answer. You have to treat the whole person. I absolutely love this analogy. Think of optimizing your hormones as building the foundation of a house. It's essential. You can't build without it. It stabilizes everything. It can dramatically improve sleep, mood, hot flashes, and that cognitive fog. But it's not the whole house. True mastery of this phase of life requires building upon that strong foundation. So what does this modern, comprehensive approach actually look like? Well, it's a proactive roadmap for longevity. It starts with hormones, yeah, but then it layers on metabolic health. It specifically addresses sexual wellness, and it even integrates regenerative therapies to keep your body's tissues strong and healthy. This is all about building a resilient system for the long haul, not just putting a Band-Aid on symptoms today. Now, I want to zero in on one of the most critical and honestly often overlooked pieces of that roadmap: this profound connection between menopause and your metabolic health. So many women are told that the sudden weight gain, the deep exhaustion, that feeling that your body is suddenly resistant to your usual diet and exercise, that it's all just a normal part of getting older. Sound familiar to anyone? Plain and simple, they are not. These are direct physiological consequences of the metabolic shifts that happen during menopause. Your body's signaling literally changes, you start to lose muscle mass more easily, and your cellular energy production just declines. These are treatable issues, not some inevitable decline you just have to accept. And here's how modern care actually tackles it. It's not just eat less, move more. It's about deep dive lab testing to see what's really going on under the hood, creating personalized plans, and using advanced tools like peptide therapies and very specific strategies to preserve that all-important muscle mass. This is about tuning the engine, not just driving a car that's sputtering along. So, when you put all these pieces together, the updated FDA guidance, the holistic view, the focus on metabolic health, a completely new standard of care emerges. And it's a standard that just rejects that old narrative of quiet suffering and replaces it with a new one, mastery. And a really critical part of that mastery is reclaiming your sexual health. For too long, issues like vaginal dryness or pelvic floor weakness were just dismissed as inevitable. But the new standard of care, it sees them for what they are, core components of your overall health and vitality, with incredible, effective treatments available right now. This is such a crucial takeaway. A policy change is fantastic. It opens the door. But walking through that door, that requires a guide. The real magic happens when you work with an expert who can interpret the science, apply it to your unique biology, and build a plan that's based on trust and your personal goals. Ultimately, this entire shift is about changing our perspective. Menopause is not the beginning of the end. It's a critical window of opportunity, a moment where the interventions you make can literally set the stage for decades of health, energy, and vitality. It is a strategy for longevity, not a story of decline. And we'll end on this powerful thought. The conversation has changed. The science has evolved. The old fears are being replaced by new possibilities. With the right knowledge and the right care, this transition doesn't have to be something you just survive. It can be the moment you truly begin to master your health for the long run.